Hello and welcome to another season of history episodes for Keep the Flame Alive, the podcast for fans of the Olympics and Paralympics. If you love the games, we are the show for you. All year long, we will be looking at the Cortina d'Ampezzo 1956 Winter Olympics, as that is the historical games that you listeners have chosen for us to cover and look back on. I am Jill Jaracz, along with my lovely co-host, Alison Brown. Hello, Alison. How are you?
Buongiorno.
Buongiorno.
I think it's fun that we're going to be looking back at Italy as we're going to Italy.
Yes, that was the exciting. I was surprised that 1956 got chosen.
But I think people had the same impression that they wanted to see what was done not the last time we were in Italy, but the last time we were in Cortina and the comparison. And everybody loves those mid-century games because the stories from them are so different than anything. And last time we had a much more modern games. We were at 2000 last year. So this is going to be a lot of fun going back to an old winter games.
Exactly. So we will do one of these a month, except for we'll not do them during the Olympics or Paralympics. So this month we wanted to do a little introduction, tell you a little bit about the history and the bid process of these games and how they got put together. And then when we come back from Italy, we'll be able to dive right into the competition and ceremonies. But yeah, wanted to give you a little background. So as you watch the events that are in the Cortina side of Milano Cortina 2026, you will know a little bit about what's going on and how that history came to be. So, Cortina d'Ampezzo 1956 was the seventh Winter Games for the Olympics. In comparison, Milano Cortina is the 25th. So, we are still in early days of the Olympic Winter Games here. Cortina was originally selected to host the 1944 Winter Olympics, which were canceled for World War II. It bid again for 1952 and was beat out by Oslo. And then in 1949, they tried again for 1956 and handily beat Colorado Springs, Lake Placid, and Montreal. And an interesting little side note is that 1956 was the last year that host cities were just chosen. So the folks who talk about lack of transparency in today's bidding process probably would have hated the backroom selection of Cortina 1956. That was the last time they were chosen that way. The 1960 elections were the first time candidate cities put together actual bid books. And it was also the first election where there could only be one candidate city per National Olympic Committee. So we would no longer have this Colorado Springs versus Lake Placid effect going on. These are the first Olympics to be held in Italy. And Cortina d'Ampezzo provided a stunning backdrop for the games. It's in the Dolomites, or I think they call them the Dolomites in Italian. And they are described in the game's official report as such. And I will quote this. The formation of the Dolomites is the strangest and most illogical that can be imagined, and takes on forms and aspects which frequently appear to be unreal. Lofty castles of stone, gigantic towers, colossal pyramids, dizzy blood red precipices, forests of pinnacles and needles, weird festoons dangling over the abyss, twisted turrets held up by heaven knows what jugglery, roaring waterfalls and rushing torrents, forests of fir and larch, brilliant flowers and emerald meadows. These are the elements which go to make up the wonderland of the Dolomites. Then there is the play of light upon them too, which produces effects of the purest magic. From dawn to dusk, they change color until at sunset they appear to flame heavenward like a splendid aurora borealis.
That sounds kind of nice.
It does sound lovely, and as Ken Hanscom told us before that, they're just stunning. So
I don't think they're really exaggerating in this description because in the descriptions that we're getting for these Olympics for 2026, you get a lot of that same hyperbole that seems to be accurate. We'll have to see what we're able to see.
yes,
But it sounds like it really is just one of the most beautiful places on earth.
yes. So, in picking the dates for these Olympics, the organizing committee looked at 26 years worth of weather data and found that the best 10-day period was the end of January and beginning of February. So that's why they chose January 26th through February 5th. The official report noted that it turned out, in spite of the scanty snowfall and the exceptional cold winter of 1955, 1956, this was the best choice that could have been made. So hopefully we'll have decent snow. Also, compared to the 17 plus 2, or really 3 when you include the opening ceremonies day program now, it's a much smaller games back then. In developing the sport program, organizers got a lot of requests. Quote unquote, someone suggested curling. The ISU, at the Soviet Union's request, asked for women's speed skating. The Fédération Internationale de Bobsled et de Tobogganing, which is bobsled, they asked for one-man bob.
Huh.
And
Before monobob, they wanted monobob.
yes, yeah, exactly. And the, International Ski Federation asked for a 30-kilometer cross-country ski race, a 3.5-kilometer ladies relay, and shortening the Nordic combined ski portion from 18 to 15 kilometers. The official report explained, as a general principle, we adhered to that of not enlarging the scope of the games. And in this, we were upheld by the administration of the committee, which, as is well known, never loses an opportunity for recommending economy. Economy. So they didn't want to spend the money to add more sports. And
And we are in the Avery Brundage years, right?
we will get to this. We will get to
Oh,
this.
because he hated the Winter Games to begin with, so
Yes,
he's
yes.
certainly not gonna allow them to expand.
Right. So this meant that they kept the same sports as Oslo 1952. They denied all of the proposals except for the international ski federations for cross country and Nordic combined. And from then on, the Nordic combined races are 15 kilometers. So this was the turning point for that decision. The other difference from Oslo 1952 is that Cortina had no demonstration sports. Oslo had bandy, a combination of ice hockey and soccer. So this was on a football-sized ice rink on skates with sticks and a ball.
That sounds like something a bunch of kids in Wisconsin came up with.
Or Swedes and Norwegians in Scandinavia. Same thing. So ultimately, Cortina's program had 8 sports, 24 Olympic titles, of which 14 were for skiing, 2 for bobsled, 4 for speed skating, 3 for figure skating, and 1 for ice hockey. Cortina itself was a tourist town, not necessarily set up for world class competition, so it needed some work. They had no ice stadium. The ski jump was out of date. The ski runs did not meet international requirements. The bobsled run was, quote, far from complete in spite of recent repair, end quote.
Gee, I see a little bit of a parallel, shall we say.
And there was no speed skating rink. So
Whoopsies.
they built a main rink stadium, and I've seen some video of this. It's not a stadium as we think of stadium now. It is a open air ice rink with 3 sides of stands. And from the rink view, it looks like it would be a chalet like look on the outside. So very tall, and it looks kind of cool, but it is definitely an outdoor stadium. They replaced the ski jump, which was demolished on April 15, 1955, and finished in September 1955, officially opened on December 8, 1955.
The Italians get it done, but at the last possible second.
Right?
Wow. And how did the IOC not look back in history and say, "Geez, Italy has had 2 winter games and we keep having construction problems, but you know what? For 2026, we're not gonna have any construction problems."
Right, right. All of the venues were really centralized and within walking distance of each other, with the exception of speed skating, which was 15 kilometers away at Lake Misurina. And the ISU, International Skating Union, was not keen on being that far away. It was also a natural rink formed by a frozen lake, and they were not thrilled with that idea either. And they preferred that Cortina would build an artificial track in town. And it's interesting because we still had natural outdoor rinks for quite some time after this. ISU lost that battle, and they were the outliers at the games. Needed to do some other construction as well. They needed road repairs. They needed to improve and extend the sewage system. They installed streetlights. They built parking lots. They had to construct sections of the bypass. They had to open some public bathrooms, and they organized new bus routes. There was not a village for the athletes. Instead, athletes and officials stayed in 42 hotels and 10 guest houses across the area. If you were one of the 49 IOC members or part of their family, you stayed at the Hotel Miramonte Majestic, which is still standing, but it seems to be closed, and it's been closed for a few years, and it seems like it needed some repairs and got shut down. So unsure about the status of that, but it still exists. Every lady received a bouquet of fresh flowers from the Ligurian Riviera and a gift bottle of perfume from the famous Borsari Company of Parma.
So, despite the sewage issues, there was a lot of things that smelled nice.
Yes. And
Is
these
that
gifts
is
were
that
like
why they gave the perfume and the flowers? Because they were having problems with the sewage system?
don't know. These gifts were likely part of the funds that came from Cortina's 1956's primary funding source, Italy's football lottery. So they did get money that way. First for these games. This was the first time the Soviet Union competed at a Winter Olympics. At the IOC's request, the two Germanys competed together. And they would split into East and West at Grenoble 1968, but they did compete as one country this time. And overall, there were 32 countries, 821 athletes, 687 men, 134 women. Another big first, television. Because facilities were in short supply, spectator numbers were going to be limited, and that meant regular television coverage would be very important for these games. This was the first time the games were televised live. They were in black and white, and the live broadcast was available in 8 European countries. They were also recorded on film, and daily coverage was processed in an apartment by the ice stadium. They processed it overnight. In the morning, drove it to the local airport, flew to Rome, and from there it got shipped internationally. So if you were in North America, you got your TV coverage about a day later. Radio Televisione Italiana, which is RAI, they had the broadcasting rights for both TV and radio. They got really into camera placement and coverage to better showcase the sport from different angles. We'll probably get into that in future episodes.
Nice. Oh, I
Uh,
love that early television stuff because it was, how do you film speed skating so that it's interesting to watch? You know, how do you film figure skating so that you can really see? And they're doing this all outside.
yeah,
So the difficulty of filming outside then plays into how do you play sports. So I'm sure there was a lot of advances made and figured out at these games. Oh, that'll be fun to talk about.
as you mentioned earlier, this is the first Olympics for IOC president Avery Brundage. He was elected at Helsinki 52. So can you imagine going 4 years and then getting your first Olympic Games?
Well, Avery Brundage was just sitting there twiddling his thumbs, as we know, not causing any trouble, keeping his mouth shut, being so well behaved, being a loyal husband, all those great things we know about Avery Brundage.
And there was one other that I've seen so far, one other VIP to be also at these games.
I don't even have a guess.
Chef de mission for Spain
Juan
won.
Antonio Samaranch.
Yes.
Oh, of course. Oh, how fantastic. Our first appearance of Juan.
So now we have a little background for these games. We go to Cortina in a few weeks to relive that Olympic spirit for Milano Cortina 2026. It'll be a fun year, I
This
think.
is gonna be fun. I'm excited.
Yes. So sources for this, game bids, multiple articles from the Journal of Olympic History, David Miller's The Official History of the Olympic Games and the IOC, Athens to Beijing, 1894 to 2008, NBC Olympics, The Official Report of Cortina d'Ampezzo, 1956, Olympedia, a couple of reports from the Olympic Studies Center, Olympics.com, Summit Daily. So we will have a link to those in our show notes on our website. You can always find out where we get our information from. So buckle up, friends. We are in for a good ride.
Buongiorno. A presto.